A couple years ago, Willa Ford did an interview on why her music career never took off like Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, or even Jessica Simpson. She stated, in paraphrasing, the reason for her career not taking off the way it did is because she released a single, Did You Understand That, on September 11th, 2001. The song was supposed to be the follow-up singer to her moderately catchy debut, I Wanna Be Bad. After making this comment, Willa caught a ton of backlash, with Charlamagne the God being the biggest, giving her the dubious honor of Donkey of the Day. People lost more on 9/11 than a short-lived music career. Families were changed because of the attacks. Protocol was changed after these attacks. New York was changed after the attacks. But today, instead of going through Willa Ford's failed music career, I want to debunk some of her claims on why her music failed, because there are plenty of music that came out on that day. We're going to shine a light on the albums that were released on 9/11. Also, we'll be taking a look at some albums that came out the week after as well. So without further ado, here's what happened to the albums released on 9/11. Before we begin, if you want to see music bios or more good videos like this, hit the subscribe button. Also, I've started a Patreon account. On here you get more copyrighted material and they'll be uploaded 48 hours prior to YouTube. If you want to support or visit, link is in the description. And without further ado, on to our feature presentation. The first album is a big one. Jay-Z released his 6th album, The Blueprint. Fun fact, Jay-Z was supposed to release the album later in the month, but bootleggers were running rampant at the time, and he wanted to beat to the punch. This album sold 420 copies its first week.
Smoke weed every day.
He already released Izzo, which went to the top 10 on the Hot 100. The other singles included Girls, 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 Jigga, and Song Cry, which the last song didn't chart but is viewed as a fan favorite. But this album had a known song called Takeover, a diss track aimed at Nas, but also sent shots to Prodigy from Mobb Deep. When Jay-Z did his Unplugged, he plugged in Shook Ones in his second verse. The Source magazine gave this album a perfect 5 mics. In 2003, the album was ranked number 464 on the Rolling Stones Top 500 Albums, but was later bumped to the top 50 in a 2020 revised list. Apple ranked this album 13th on their 2024 list, and the album is currently certified triple platinum as of 2018. And to add on its cultural significance, the Blueprint was preserved in the Library of Congress. So that's one album that was not affected by 9/11.
It's not like you to say sorry. I was waiting on a different story.
The next album was the album that went to number 2 on the 200, Silver Side Up by Nickelback, which was their 3rd album. This was their first album since the 1998 Stale, and despite going number 2 on the 200, it reached number 1 on the Canadian charts. Most of Nickelback's success in 2001 was stemmed by the song How You Remind Me. Prior to this, Nickelback only saw minor underground success, and this was their first song to be a mainstream success. The song reached number 1 in the latter part of that year in both the United States and Canada. The album itself went 6 times platinum, selling 10 million copies worldwide. And this was the start of Nickelback's dominance in the 2000s. The best was yet to come. So that's 2 albums that was not affected by 9/11.
If they want it, cowards get it. They still wonder how I did it.
Might have been easy for established acts to release an album on 9/11, but imagine being a brand new rapper trying to break through and not only have your debut on 9/11, but have to go up against Jay-Z. That's what Fabolous had to go through. He released his debut album, Ghetto Fabolous. Fab was having early success thanks to his debut single, Can't Deny It. He'll drop another single known as Youngin' Holla Back, produced by the Neptunes. Now, critics were torn on this debut because of a lack of identity. They said that there were other rappers like Fab that already does his sound better, and highlighted Jadakiss, who was starting his solo career at the time, Jay-Z, who already released an album that week, and Mace, who was retired from rap. But despite these critiques, Ghetto Fabolous still went platinum, and Fab will later improve on his skills. And shout out to the Breakfast Club DJ Envy, who produced the final song on the album, and he would like to let us know that.
I still get checks from that because I produced a record on that too, so it's still doing good.
Drop one of Cool's bombs for DJ and reminding us that he's rich. Okay.
So that's 3 albums that wasn't affected by 9/11. Now we have an album and band that I haven't heard of. For brief context, POD is a new metal band and a Christian metal band. They hail from San Diego, and this was their 4th album, but their 2nd on Atlantic. They had a lead-off single known as Alive, which gave them their first charting single, going number 41 on the Hot 100, number 2 on the alternative charts, but despite this, the song was on heavy rotation on MTV. So the band rode the hype of that song to release their album on September 11. But the second single, Youth of the Nation, reached number 28 on the Hot 100 and was also on heavy rotation on MTV. See what happens when network airs videos of non-major artists? It helped out with their album sales. But Satellites went triple platinum. PLD continued to release albums, but none were successful as Satellites. But this era did see multiple Grammy nominations and VMA nominations. So that's now 4 albums that was not affected by 9/11. Mariah decided to release her soundtrack to her movie Glitter, and if there was an artist that was impacted by 9/11, it was this one. Now I've already discussed this album on a previous video, so I'll try and keep this one brief. Mariah was going through a lot during this time, to the point it pushed her to the brink of exhaustion, mental and physical. This halted everything. Promo in the album was originally supposed to be pushed back to the 21st, but due to the attacks, it was Mariah that made the final call to release the album on September 11th to distract everyone from the news. It should be noted that the album was already released in Japan at the time. And as I mentioned, this album and movie was a flop, where she requested her release from Virgin, but this story does have a happy ending. In 2018, hashtag Justice for Glitter was trending and Glitter was reprimanded. So you could say that this album was affected by 9/11, but it later got better as it got older. I'll leave it at that. And now I want to talk about some albums that were released the week after, only because I'm trying to see something. So let's start off with Tori Amos released a cover album called Strange Little Girls. Before this video, I never heard of this artist, but if you don't know, she was a singer in the 90s who had a breakthrough in 1992, which saw her nominated for multiple VMAs. Most of her lyrics consist of sexuality, religion, feminism, and trauma. And like I said, her album was a cover album, and the songs on that album were originally sung by men, and there's even a song by Eminem on this project. She rewrote some of the words from a point of view of a woman, and this album debuted at number 4 on the Billboard 200, and this era gave her 2 Grammy nominations. So her album wasn't impacted in the aftermath of 9/11. Gerald Levert released his 5th album, Gerald's World, and sadly I don't have much to say about this one. The album debuted at number 6 and proved to everyone that he was still a staple in R&B. May he rest in peace. Of love. Just like Tori Amos, Diane Krall is a new name to me. And for brief context, she's a jazz singer and pianist from Canada, and The Look of Love was her 6th album. And like with Strange Little Girls, this was also a cover album, but a Target exclusive had an original song called Charmed Life. The album earned her a Juno Award for Album of the Year. It won a Grammy for Best Engineered Album Non-Classical, debuting at number 9. This album went platinum in the United States, 7-time platinums in Canada, and it's another proof that her album wasn't impacted in the aftermath of 9/11. Macy Gray's debut album was a massive success thanks to the song I Try, so she came in with her follow-up album with expectations, and unfortunately those expectations weren't met. She dropped 2 singles, Sweet Baby by Erykah Badu and Sexual Revolution, but neither song charted on Billboard, but it did find some success in other countries. Turned out, I Try was the peak of her mainstream success, but despite this, and thanks to her cult following, her sophomore album still went gold, so she kinda wasn't impacted by the aftermath of 9/11. This might have just been a typical sophomore slump, and we'll end it right there. And that wraps up this video. Goes to show you that all these albums, despite being released on 9/11 or the week after, still found success. Even though Mariah's album wasn't successful initially, it was able to find success years later. So to Willa Ford, hope you're doing well today. Just because of a tragic and scary incident happened to America, the music didn't stop. There was still a chance for your single to do well the week after 9/11 when the country was reopening. This should have been the chance where you should have promoted the single, but I felt like Willa gave up on Did You Understand That once the attacks happened. But anyway, tell me what y'all think in the comments below. What was your favorite album released on 9/11? Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching. Rest in peace to all the lives lost on that tragic day, and I'll see you next time.